All right, so we're diving into this DocuSign earnings call. And you're going to want to hear this. It's their Q3 report for fiscal year 2025.
Yeah, and this one is interesting because we're seeing DocuSign at kind of a crossroads.
Oh.
Everyone knows them for e-signatures,
Right.
but this call really shows them pushing into a whole new area, intelligent agreement management.
And we've got all the goods here today.
Yeah.
We've got the official Q3 earnings report, the full transcript of the call.
Nice.
So we're going to hit all the bases, from the revenue numbers to how they're weaving in AI into contract analysis.
First things first, the core signature business is making a comeback.
Yeah, that's good to see after that little slump they had, huh?
Yeah, it was a rough patch, but they seem to be back on track.
So dollar net retention is back up to 100%, which basically means they're not losing money from their existing customer base.
Exactly. And that's a really healthy sign after that dip we saw last quarter.
Revenue's up 8% year over year.
They also snagged 11% more new customers, and it looks like people are actually using DocuSign more too.
That's great. And it seems like this is partly driven by their new self-service options, which I know you were really interested to see how that played out.
Yeah, definitely. Seems like it's attracting a whole new segment of customers who prefer to do things themselves.
I'm also seeing a lot in this report about product improvements,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
which probably helps with that customer retention they're talking about.
Absolutely. They've doubled down on keeping those existing customers happy
Right.
while also bringing in those new ones. But now let's
Okay.
get to the really exciting stuff. This whole intelligent agreement management, or IMM.
Now, I think some people might hear intelligent agreement management and be like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, it sounds a little bit jargony.
Right. So imagine a platform that doesn't just let you sign documents electronically.
Right.
It also tracks your deadlines, spots risks in the contract language itself,
Yep.
even kicks off automated steps based on what the agreement says.
It's next level stuff. Taking e-signatures from simply replacing a physical signature
Yeah.
to actually managing the whole agreement lifecycle.
I'm impressed, and they're already seeing some success with it. They're closing 10 times more IAM deals than last quarter,
Really?
and engagement numbers are looking good.
Wow.
There's even an example in the call of this wealth management firm, KPC Private Funds.
Yeah, I saw that.
They're using IAM to onboard clients.
Their onboarding time has been slashed by 70% using IAM's Maestro workflow tool, and they're projecting a 90% reduction in the future.
90%.
That's game-changing stuff.
Wow. Yeah, you can see why they're excited about IAM's potential,
Yeah.
especially for businesses with complex agreement processes.
Absolutely. And to make it even more powerful,
Okay.
they've integrated their recent acquisition, Lexion, into the platform.
Lexion, I remember them. They specialize in AI-powered contract analysis. So basically, DocuSign can read your contracts for you now.
Exactly. No more combing through pages of legal jargon.
That's music to my ears. Now, are they just targeting big corporations with this?
Well, they definitely see huge potential for IAM in large enterprises,
Right.
but they're being smart about it.
Okay.
They're starting smaller with departmental level rollouts. It's a classic land and expand strategy.
Makes sense.
They're leveraging those strong relationships they have with over 85% of the Fortune 500.
That's a smart move.
Yeah.
Start small, refine the approach, and then expand.
Minimize the risk, maximize the potential customer base.
That's the way to do it.
It is.
Now, this all sounds great, but how are the numbers looking? Let's take a peek at their financials.
Well, DocuSign is boasting a pretty impressive 29.6% non-GAAP operating margin. They're sitting on over $1 billion in cash, zero debt. And they're buying back stock. So they're sending a clear signal that they are in a good position to invest in this transition to IMM.
So financially, they seem to be in a pretty good spot to make this big move.
Yep, they're healthy and ready to go.
Their dollar net retention rate, which we mentioned earlier, is up to 100% in Q3.
Right.
Up from 99% in Q2, and significantly up from that low of 98% we saw in Q4 of fiscal 2024.
It's safe to say they've gotten that customer churn under control.
Yeah.
Which is crucial for long-term growth, especially as they shift to this new platform.
Now, what about new customer acquisition? How's that looking?
Total customers grew 11% year over year to 1.6 million.
Wow.
They're seeing consistent growth in new customer acquisition across all different segments and geographies.
So steady customer growth provides a really solid base for introducing new products like IAM.
It does.
And what about revenue and billings? How do those shake out?
Q3 total revenue came in at $755 million, an 8% year-over-year increase.
Yep.
Subscription revenue mirrored that, with $735 million, also up 8%.
Right.
Billings were $752 million,
Okay.
a 9% year-over-year increase.
So they're showing strong performance across the board.
Yeah.
Revenue and billings are up. Customer churn is under control.
Right.
And they're seeing those good early signs with IAM.
Yep.
Now, I know you've got a crazy trade idea brewing based on all of this.
I do.
But before we get into that,
Oh, yeah, of course.
this is not financial advice.
Definitely not.
Everything we discuss here is for informational and entertainment purposes only.
Right.
Please consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Always a good idea.
All right, with that out of the way, let's have some fun. Hypothetically speaking,
Okay.
what if DocuSign's gamble on IAM pays off big time? What if they become the go-to solution for managing agreements across every industry imaginable?
Well, if we zoom out a little bit and look at the bigger picture,
Okay, zoom out for us.
they've got this gold mine of data from their existing e-signature customer base. Imagine the insights they could generate by applying AI to all those agreements.
Oh, that's interesting. What kind of insights are we talking about?
It could revolutionize how companies analyze risk,
Okay.
negotiate deals, even predict future trends.
So give me an example.
Imagine knowing which clauses in a contract are most likely to be disputed, or being able to predict which customers are most likely to renew based on their past agreement data.
That's powerful stuff.
It is. It's like a crystal ball for business.
Now let's get back to that specific trade idea. What are you thinking?
So here's a scenario, a little out there, but plausible.
Okay, I like it.
What if DocuSign partners with a legal tech giant,
All right.
like a LexisNexis or Westlaw?
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
They could combine DocuSign's IAM platform
Yes,
with a massive legal database.
exactly. Imagine AI-powered contract analysis backed by an extensive library of legal precedents and case law.
Now that would be a game changer.
Especially for businesses trying to minimize risk and create those ironclad agreements.
All right, I'm sold on this hypothetical partnership. So what's the trade?
Let's say this partnership is announced.
Yeah.
The market reacts positively.
Okay.
DocuSign's stock price starts climbing.
Uh-huh.
We buy a long-dated call option on DOCU, betting that the stock will continue to rise as this partnership blossoms.
Now that's a bold move. Walk me through the logic here.
A long-dated call option gives us the right, but not the obligation,
Okay.
to buy DOCU stock at a specific price in the future.
Right.
If the stock price goes up significantly, thanks to this partnership, we could make a tidy profit.
Okay, so it's a risky move,
It is.
but with the potential for big rewards if this scenario plays out.
Exactly.
But of course, for our listeners at home,
Right.
this is not financial advice.
Purely hypothetical for entertainment purposes only.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, before we get carried away with our imaginary trades,
Yeah.
let's take a step back and really analyze the key takeaways from this DocuSign earnings call.
Sounds good. Let's break it down.
First and foremost, their core business is stabilizing. They're seeing those improvements in retention, new customer growth,
Yeah.
increased usage.
Absolutely.
This really provides a solid foundation for their transition to IAM.
Agreed. A healthy core business lets them invest in future growth without putting their current operations at risk.
Second, IAM is showing some real promise early on. Closing way more deals than last quarter, customer engagement is high.
It's still early days for IAM, but that initial traction is definitely encouraging.
Yeah.
And that land and expand approach seems to be working.
It does.
Yeah.
They're attracting smaller businesses and larger enterprises.
Exactly.
Third, the Lexion acquisition was a smart move, and it's complementing their IAM strategy perfectly.
Absolutely. Integrating Lexion's AI capabilities puts DocuSign in a prime position to be a leader in AI-powered contract analysis.
Fourth, their financials are strong.
Yes.
They have a healthy balance sheet, committed to returning value to shareholders.
Right.
This puts them in a really good spot to invest in future growth.
They can do it organically, through acquisitions, or both.
And finally, it's important to remember they're still in the early stages of a multi-year transition.
Right.
They're executing well, but it's going to take time to fully realize IAM's potential.
Patience is key. We need to track their progress over the coming quarters and years to see if they can really deliver on this ambitious vision.
Well said. Now let's move on to the next section of our deep dive.
That's good.
We're going to take a closer look at some specific use cases for IAM.
Okay.
Beyond what we've already discussed, we'll explore how businesses in various industries are using this technology to streamline their agreement processes and gain those valuable insights.
I'm ready to dive in.
Excellent talk.
Stay tuned, folks.
Now, these strong financials are really giving DocuSign the fuel they need to push IAM. And that brings us to how this is actually playing out in the real world.
Yeah, let's get into some real-world examples. I think something everyone can relate to is onboarding new employees.
Perfect example. Mountains of paperwork, employment contracts, tax forms, benefit enrollment documents. It's enough to make both HR and the new hire want to pull their hair out.
It's 2025. No one wants to deal with that much paper anymore. So how does IAM help with that?
Well, with IAM, that whole process can be automated and digitized.
Okay.
Imagine new hires signing all those documents electronically. And HR can track everything in real time. It's a win-win. Streamlined, efficient, paperless. I love it. But what about other industries? I'm really curious to see how this works in real estate. I've bought and sold a few properties, and the paperwork is always a nightmare.
Real estate is a prime example of where IAM can really shine. Think about all the agreements involved. Purchase agreements, mortgage documents, disclosures, title searches. It's enough to bury you in paperwork.
You're telling me. And the back and forth with all those documents can be so time-consuming and stressful.
Exactly. IAM can make those transactions much smoother and faster. Buyers and sellers can collaborate on documents electronically, track the progress of the transaction, and even automate tasks like title searches and escrow payments.
That's incredible. It would definitely make the whole process less stressful and probably reduce the risk of errors and delays, too.
Absolutely. Accuracy and speed are two of the key benefits of IAM across the board. Another interesting use case is in healthcare.
Healthcare. Now, that's a complex industry with tons of regulations. How does IAM fit into all of that?
Well, think about all the agreements healthcare providers deal with every day. Patient consent forms, medical records releases, insurance claims.
Yeah, you're right. It seems like a perfect fit for IAM.
It is. It can streamline those processes, ensure compliance with regulations,
Wow.
and even improve patient care by providing secure and efficient access to important documents.
That's fascinating. It seems like IAM has the potential to transform so many industries. But let's bring it back to businesses of all sizes. Earlier, we talked about DocuSign's land and expand strategy. Can you give me a concrete example of how that works?
Sure. So imagine a company starts by implementing an IAM solution in their sales department to automate contracts.
So they identify a pain point, like those clunky contract processes, and offer an IAM solution tailored to that specific department.
Exactly. And once that department sees the benefits of IAM, it becomes much easier to expand to other areas of the company.
I'm starting to see how it works. It's a clever way to showcase the value of IAM and get different teams on board.
It is. It's a low-risk, high-reward approach. DocuSign can gradually penetrate a company and eventually become their go-to for everything related to agreement management.
It's like they're heating up those small pots of water one by one, but eventually they could boil the whole ocean, right?
I like that analogy. It's a proven strategy for many successful software companies.
Now, I'm curious about the features.
Yeah.
What are some of the key features of DocuSign's IAM platform that make it so appealing to customers?
Well, one of the biggest draws is their AI-powered contract analysis, which they got through their acquisition of Lexion.
Right.
They've seamlessly integrated that technology into IAM, allowing businesses to pull key information from contracts, identify potential risks, and automate tasks like renewals and notifications. It's like having a virtual legal expert on call 24/7.
That's a game changer, especially for businesses that don't have big legal teams. It's like they're democratizing legal expertise.
Exactly. Another key feature is the platform's ability to automate those complex agreement workflows. Think about everything involved in getting a contract signed. Creating the document, sending it for approvals, collecting signatures, storing it securely.
It's a tedious and time-consuming process,
Yeah,
especially when you're dealing with multiple parties and complex agreements.
absolutely. With IAM, you can automate that entire workflow. It eliminates those manual tasks, reduces errors, and saves time and money.
Plus, it frees up employees to focus on more strategic work.
Exactly. No one wants to be bogged down with administrative tasks.
And we can't forget about security and compliance,
Right.
especially in industries like healthcare and finance.
Huge factor.
DocuSign has built those robust security measures into their platform to protect sensitive data and ensure they're meeting all those industry regulations.
It's essential.
That peace of mind is critical for businesses operating in those highly regulated industries. Now let's talk about competition. Who are some of DocuSign's main rivals in the IAM space?
Well, there are several key players in the IAM market, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Some of the big names you'll hear are Adobe Sign, HelloSign, and PandaDoc.
So it's a competitive market. But it seems like DocuSign has a pretty solid position thanks to their established brand and their large customer base.
They do. Their strong presence in e-signatures has definitely given them a head start in the IAM space. Plus, that Lexion acquisition gives them a real edge in AI-powered contract analysis.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this market evolves in the coming years. Now, before we move on to our final segment where we unleash our wild trade ideas, are there any key things investors and analysts should be watching for in the coming quarters?
Absolutely. The continued growth and adoption of IAM will be crucial. DocuSign needs to prove that IAM isn't just a fad, but a sustainable source of revenue and growth that can really propel them beyond e-signatures.
So they need to show that they can successfully make that transition from an e-signature company to a full-fledged IAM provider.
Precisely. They also need to demonstrate they can maintain and expand their customer base as they venture into new markets and target different customer segments.
And of course, we'll be watching their financials closely, particularly their revenue growth, profitability, and cash flow.
Of course, strong financials are the foundation of any successful growth strategy.
All right, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. Any final thoughts before we move on to our last segment?
Just one DocuSign is at a pivotal point in their journey. They're making a big bet on IAM, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
I completely agree. If they can pull it off, they have the potential to really dominate the rapidly growing IAM market.
And if they stumble, well, that's a conversation for another time.
Fair enough. So let's move on to our final segment, which we like to call This Is Not Financial Advice.
The part of the show where we let our imaginations run wild and pitch an outrageous but plausible trade idea based on what we've learned.
Always remember, folks, this is purely hypothetical and for entertainment purposes only. We are not financial advisors, so please consult with a qualified professional before making any investment decisions.
All right, now that we've got that disclaimer out of the way, are you ready for this wild trade idea?
I'm all ears. Let's hear it.
All right, let's step into the metaverse.
Okay, the metaverse. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Imagine a world where the metaverse explodes in popularity. Businesses are setting up shop, people are socializing, attending virtual events. The lines between the physical and digital worlds are blurring.
I can see it. A virtual world teeming with possibilities. But how do agreements fit into all of this?
That's the key question. Agreements become even more critical in the metaverse. You've got virtual land purchases, digital asset ownership, all sorts of new contracts popping up. And the traditional way of managing agreements with those physical signatures and paper trails just won't work in this fast-paced, decentralized environment.
So that's where DocuSign comes in, right? With their expertise in electronic signatures and their IAM platform, they're in a perfect position to handle the complexity of agreements in the metaverse.
Exactly. Imagine being able to sign a virtual land purchase agreement with a digital handshake, or having your digital assets securely tracked and managed on the blockchain.
It's about creating a seamless and secure way to conduct business in the metaverse. And DocuSign is really the only company with the technology and the know-how to make this happen.
Right. Now, here's where our outrageous but plausible trade idea comes in. Imagine DocuSign announces a partnership with a major metaverse platform,
Okay,
like Decentraland or Sandbox.
interesting. What would that partnership look like in practice?
They could integrate DocuSign's IAM platform directly into the metaverse, allowing users to manage all their agreements right within the virtual world.
So you could be walking through your virtual real estate and instantly pull up your purchase agreement.
Exactly.
Or verify the ownership of a digital asset you're thinking about buying.
It's all about building trust and transparency in the metaverse.
And of course, this partnership makes a big splash in the market. Investors realize the massive potential, and DocuSign's stock price starts to climb.
Now, for the trade itself, we buy a long-dated call option spread on DOCU, betting that the stock will continue to rise as this partnership gains traction and they become the go-to for metaverse agreements.
A call option spread. You're getting a little fancy on us. Can you break that down for our listeners?
Sure thing. A call option spread involves buying a call option with a lower strike price and simultaneously selling another call option with a higher strike price, both with the same expiration date.
Okay.
It's a bullish strategy that caps our potential losses while still giving us some upside potential.
So we're essentially betting that DocuSign stock price will go up, but not too much by the time those options expire.
Exactly. It's a calculated risk with defined profit and loss limits. Of course, this is all hypothetical and depends on this metaverse scenario playing out.
Right. And remember, folks,
This is not financial advice.
always do your own research and talk to a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
All right, so let's imagine stepping into this virtual world, right? Where businesses are booming, people are socializing, attending events. Those lines between the physical and digital are totally blurred.
Yeah, the metaverse.
Exactly, the metaverse. We're talking endless possibilities. But how do agreements, how do contracts fit into this landscape?
That's a great question.
Because in the metaverse, you've got virtual land purchases, digital asset ownership, all these new types of contracts are popping up. And that traditional way of managing agreements with physical signatures, paper trails, it just won't work in this fast-paced, decentralized environment.
That's where I see DocuSign coming in, right?
Exactly.
They have that strong foundation in e-signatures, and their IAM platform seems perfectly designed for this world.
Right, they're already ahead of the curve.
So give me an example.
Yeah.
How would this work in practice?
So picture this. You're walking through your virtual real estate, and you can instantly pull up the purchase agreement.
Oh, wow.
Or you want to buy a digital asset.
Yeah.
You can verify the ownership all within the metaverse.
It's like bringing that trust and transparency we have in the physical world
Exactly.
into the metaverse,
Right.
which really needed.
That's where this is not financial advice trade idea comes in.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's say DocuSign announces this strategic partnership with a major metaverse platform,
Like who?
like Decentraland or Sandbox,
Okay.
and they integrate their IAM platform right into the metaverse.
So users can manage everything without even leaving.
Exactly. Streamlined, secure, makes doing business so much easier.
Oh, this would make a splash.
Oh yeah, investors would be all over this, and DocuSign's stock price starts climbing.
Okay, I'm ready. What's the trade?
We're going with a long-dated call option spread on DOCU, betting that the stock keeps rising as this partnership takes off.
Call option spread. That sounds a little complicated.
It's basically buying a call option at a lower price and selling one at a higher price, both with the same expiration date.
So you're limiting the risk,
Exactly. You're capping potential losses, but still leaving room for those gains.
but remember, everyone,
Yes, this is all hypothetical.
this is not financial advice.
This is just us having some fun exploring the possibilities.
Always do your own research. Talk to a financial advisor before making any decisions.
For sure. So, to wrap up our deep dive into DocuSign, what are the key takeaways here?
DocuSign is clearly at this turning point, right? They're moving beyond e-signatures and diving headfirst into this world of intelligent agreement management.
And their core business. It's strong, showing a real comeback.
Retention's up, customer growth is up. They're using the platform more.
All good signs. And that IAM platform is showing some real promise early on.
Yeah, those sales are growing, engagement is high.
They've got the financial strength to really invest in growth, too.
And let's be honest, they're in a great position to become a major player in the IAM market, maybe even shape how business is done in the metaverse.
It's exciting to watch. It's a really interesting time for DocuSign. But as always, everyone, stay informed, do your research, and make those investment decisions that really align with your goals and risk tolerance.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into DocuSign.
We had fun exploring all the possibilities. And as always, we appreciate you listening.
Until next time, everyone, stay curious and keep those tickers talking.
And remember,
This is not financial advice.
we're just two people who love diving into these earnings calls, sharing what we find.
We'll see you on the next episode of Talk Tickers.